introduce it as?
Sure, yeah. My name is James, and I'm working in the USA. I look after the volunteer and teaching abroad.
Okay. And if you could tell us a little bit about your own background and your experience in the travel industry.
Sure, yeah. I went to college for 3 years, and after graduating, I realised that I wanted to work and travel, that I didn't want to be working in an office 9 to 5. I kind of wanted to feel like I was outside doing other stuff. I guess my first trip abroad was when I was 15. I went to Armenia and fell in love with travelling and just experiencing a different culture. And since then I've clocked up around 43 countries at this stage. Probably one of my most bizarre trips was I joined a ship for 1 year, a voluntary ship, so I was the HIV coordinator. And what we did on the ship was we went to different countries and we did outreaches, so like in hospitals and colleges and pretty much anywhere that needed help. And my role was to find charities on the ground, connect with them before the ship got in, and then organise outreaches. So through that I was able, like in East Timor, I went into the interior of the jungle, and I've had some incredible experiences travelling, and especially in the capacity as like a volunteer as well. It's been pretty amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've been volunteering yourself before. Like, what countries have you volunteered in?
I volunteered probably in most of the countries that I've been to. Armenia, in fact, was actually my first volunteer trip, and then after that I went down to Uganda a following year later. And in Uganda I was working south of Kampala, so I was working with schools there. And then we went up north and I was working with former child soldiers, so working with children that had been actually abducted and made fighting a war. And we spent a few weeks up there and it was phenomenal. The kids were amazing. They were so amazing. And then I flew, as you do, to South Korea, and then made my way down to Malaysia on another volunteer trip, overlanding. And that's really when I got a big taste for it. I've literally been pretty much all over the world volunteering.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, what was your
Yeah.
favourite project to work on?
My favourite project personally was Cambodia, and it was when I was on the ship. We were in Sihanoukville, which is south of Cambodia, and we were berthed there. And they said to me, "Okay, you have to go and find something to do." So I had a little driver, and the little driver was on a moped, and I was on the back, and we went kind of seeking out projects. And we drove by this hospital, and it was so dilapidated and completely fallen apart. And we went in and just had a chat with some of the staff and asked if I could have a look around. And we went and we found this one sort of, the way the hospital was, it was numerous bungalows spotted all around. And we went into one and it was for children that had HIV. And the walls were really grey and there was actually blood on the floors and there was bars on the window, and it was a really, really depressing place to be. But not only that, I found what was more worrying was all the kids were so down and really sad, and they just weren't being kids. You weren't getting any sort of childhood. So went back to the ship and I put this proposal that we'd get at least 100 volunteers from the ship, and we'd go and we'd literally renovate the wards, that we'd have children's programs, we'd build a little library and fill it with books. And we did that, and it took around a week to do that. It was amazing. It was so phenomenal, because what started happening was all of the kids that were in the bungalow, they took ownership and they started painting with us. So they were painting flowers and stuff, and I've actually went back to visit them without telling them that I was going to turn up, and I went back and it's still there.
Wow.
Do you know, and my name is on a little award in Cambodia.
Oh,
Yeah, it was amazing. That was,
really sounds it.
yeah, that was probably the most special
Yeah.
that it's ever gotten for me with volunteering, because you could really see the difference that you made as well. And then getting to go back and seeing that it was a lasting impression that you left as well was pretty great.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for people, say, who have never been volunteering before and they're just out of college or thinking about doing it but are a bit apprehensive or don't really know how to go about it, things like that, like what would you recommend, or where would you say is a good place to go if you're a first timer?
Okay. First of all, I think everybody at some stage in their life should volunteer, because it's such a different experience than what you get if you're gone on a holiday or if you've gone on an excursion. It's completely different, and it takes you from being the centre of your own universe, and you have to put yourself second to the people that you're there to help, and it's a really humbling experience, and I think everyone should experience it at least once in their life. So I would definitely encourage people to do it. There's tons of different options that's open to you. So if you're just out of university and if you've studied, for instance, arts, and you're maybe thinking that you want to go into teaching, why not go volunteer, get your test the waters and teach a class and get involved in actually helping out with school and giving them your skills that you've learned in college. One of the really great projects that we have on at the moment is Nepal, which is perfect for first time volunteers, because you're staying with other volunteers from English speaking countries, you're in a volunteer house, and you have really great programs that's really well established, which is a perfect choice if you've never volunteered before and you're a little bit apprehensive, because you'll be joining other people that have maybe never volunteered before as well. So you won't be on your own.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And where would you say country-wise would be the best place to go for like a wildlife project?
A wildlife project has to be South Africa. There is so many amazing projects where you really, whether it be cheetah conservation or literally getting on a horse and trekking rhinos from being like poached. There's so many amazing projects depending on what you're really interested in. There's definitely a project for you with animals in South Africa, and a lot of the time as well you're actually staying on a reserve in a bungalow, so even at night time you'll be seeing animals. You know, the experience that you get is amazing, so much better than what you would get in a safari as well, and you're really able to make a tangible difference to the animals as well. Definitely, yeah. Education, Nepal. Like I said, Nepal is very much geared towards the teaching sort of aspect. The whole country has went boom, but the infrastructure hasn't went with it. So they really need skilled people. They need people that are willing to kind of go over and get stuck in. So you're given a great opportunity to teach your own class, to maybe be a sub, to even assist in a classroom environment. And the education there is very much lacking. So they're very, very welcoming of volunteers.
Okay. And medical
Africa. Massive need for people to go help out in the medical centres in Africa. A lot of our partners have clinics in local townships or even in really rural parts where the people can't afford to get to the hospital. So you're really able to get hands-on experience in local clinics with people that wouldn't be able to otherwise afford medical treatment. And you can really utilise your skills, and a lot of the time you don't even need to be qualified. If you're just eager to help out, and if you really want to kind of get stuck in and help out where you can, they'll be totally up for that. Whereas if you have any sort of qualifications, they'll definitely utilise them as well. So it's a great opportunity to use any skills that you have and to put them into practice.
And then with the volunteer programs that you organise, is there time for kind of downtime? What kind of things can people do when they're not volunteering, or is that an option?
Yeah, a lot of the programs, actually, the partners on the ground really, really want the volunteers to experience the culture of the country as well. They don't want them just going over, volunteering and then coming home. They want them leaving having felt like they've really experienced what it's like to be in the country itself. So for instance, in South Africa, they'll take you to Kruger National Park and you'll do a Kruger tour. They'll take you to the townships and show you around. You know, you'll see Cape Town and Joburg. In Nepal, on the weekends, you take you to Chitwan National Park and to Pecora. You know, they really do give you all the options of seeing the countries as well. And there's also always the option of extending your trip at the end and joining up with a local tour group and maybe touring independently as well after your trip. That's definitely an option.
A lot of people kind of have the question in mind, why do I need to pay to go volunteering?
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
Well, you have to pay. Nothing is free in the world, unfortunately. You have to pay because the place that you're going to, a lot of the time, we'll take Nepal, I've used that as an example, so we'll stick with Nepal as an example. Your board, your accommodation, and pretty much all of your support on the ground is paid for. You need to be able to pay them, and a lot of the time as well, the project fee that you're paying goes back into the projects that you're involved in, so you're really helping the projects remain sustainable. So not only are you giving of your time, but you're really helping to maintain the projects as well. They need the funds, and a lot of the time they make the funds through volunteers as well. So yeah, it's completely normal, I think, and I do think it's a total misconception that you shouldn't pay.
Okay, and just finally, somewhere that you're dying to go to next.
I want to go to South Africa next. I really want to go to South Africa. I haven't been to South Africa, and I really want to get there. I want to go into Cape Town, I want to do the garden route, I want to go do safaris, I want to check out all the volunteer projects there, and then maybe hop off to Zanzibar. Sure, why not?